You lost so much. Things you didn't even speak about. People never saw the nights you cried in silence, hiding your pain behind a strong face. You gave your all, you were loyal, faithful, loving, and still, they turned their backs on you. Opportunities slipped through your fingers, people left without a word. Life shifted so fast you barely recognized yourself in the mirror. And maybe you thought you were cursed. Maybe you asked God, why me? But let me tell you something you forgot along the way. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. What you lost wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something divine. Because every tear, every heartbreak, every betrayal, you didn't lose it for nothing. You were being prepared for a supernatural restoration. And now, everything you lost is coming back, multiplied, transformed, glorified, not the same, better, because your time has come. There was a season in your life where everything felt like it was collapsing, slowly then all at once. You were trying to hold it all together, juggling responsibilities, praying through the pain, pretending to be okay while dying inside. One moment you had support, the next you were completely alone. People who once celebrated you stopped calling. Doors that were wide open suddenly slammed shut. The more you tried to fix things, the more broken everything became. You were in your silent season, the kind of season that doesn't announce itself. It sneaks in quietly, through unanswered prayers, through the long sleepless nights, through that invisible weight on your chest you can't even explain. No one checked on you, no one noticed the shift. And that made it worse. It felt like you were forgotten by the world, and maybe even by God. But what you didn't know back then is that the silence was not a punishment, it was a classroom. God wasn't ignoring you. He was isolating you for transformation. See, before God brings elevation, He brings separation. He had to strip you from everything that was draining you. You thought it was bad luck, but it was actually divine surgery. He was removing the noise, the distractions, the fake love, the codependency, all the things that were delaying your destiny. You were never meant to carry all those people. You were never meant to fight those battles alone. But you kept holding on because you're loyal, because you have a good heart, because you believe in people. And God saw that. He saw your heart. He saw how you loved even when you were hurting. He saw how you gave, even when you had nothing left for yourself. He saw your tears, the ones you cried when no one else was watching. This season wasn't about losing. It was about becoming who you were always meant to be. The fire wasn't sent to destroy you, it was sent to refine you. And yes, it hurt, it felt unfair. But looking back, can't you see it now? Some of the people who left weren't meant to go with you. Some of the doors that closed were never really for you. And some of the pain you carried, it wasn't even yours to begin with. You had to fall apart so that God could rebuild you from the inside out. He was teaching you how to hear Him in the silence, how to trust Him in the darkness, how to walk by faith, not by sight. Because when the noise is gone and the crowd is gone and the applause is gone, that's when you discover who you really are. And now that the silence is breaking, now that the storm is clearing, you're about to realize something powerful. You didn't lose anything that God can't restore and multiply. This was never a breakdown, it was the setup for your breakthrough. You thought God was ignoring you. You prayed and there was no answer. You fasted and nothing changed. You cried out, and the silence was deafening. You started to wonder, did I do something wrong? Did God forget me? But no, He didn't ignore you. He hid you. There's a difference. When God is silent, it doesn't mean He's absent. It means He's watching in the dark, shaping you behind the curtain. You were never forgotten. You were being preserved. You see, God hides His most precious vessels. Before He reveals you to the world, He conceals you in the wilderness. Because the world you're being sent to is too dangerous for raw potential. You had to be hidden so the enemy wouldn't destroy you prematurely. You had to be hidden so your spirit could mature. You had to be hidden so you wouldn't rely on applause, validation, or recognition. You had to be hidden so when you come out, it would be undeniable that God did it, not man. There's a kind of favor that needs quiet preparation. The kind of blessing that requires private crushing. God was molding your identity in secret. You didn't even see the changes happening inside you, but they were. He was healing wounds you didn't even know you had. He was breaking generational patterns. He was rewiring your thoughts, upgrading your spirit, and expanding your soul. While you were wondering why you were invisible, God was protecting you from people who would have mishandled your purpose. People who would have used your light to fuel their ego. People who would have contaminated your assignment with their own agendas. Some doors didn't open, not because you weren't good enough, but because your light was too powerful for a dark room. And you were never meant to shrink to fit in. That's why God had to hide you in plain sight, even from those who said they loved you. Yes, it felt like isolation, but it was really insulation. God was wrapping His arms around you, covering you while He worked. And now that the foundation is firm, now that your character has been tested in the fire, now that you don't need the crowd to validate your calling, He's about to reveal you, but when He does, it won't be the old version of you. The you that doubted, the you that begged for crumbs, the you that tolerated mistreatment just to feel loved. That version died in the silence. The version God is about to reveal is strong, anointed, wise, bold, radiant. He didn't ignore you. He loved you too much to expose you too soon. Because now, the world is about to meet the version of you that was born in the hiding place, but destined to stand on mountaintops. There's a reason why the warfare on your life has been so intense. It wasn't random, it wasn't by accident. You've been attacked since you were a child. Not because you were weak, but because the enemy could see what you didn't see, your calling, your power, your destiny. You carry something rare, something sacred, something dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. So the enemy tried to break you before you even knew who you were. He saw the future prophet while you were still lost. He saw the generational chain breaker while you were still doubting your worth. He saw the anointed voice, the leader, the light in you. And so he launched strategic attacks, not just to delay you, but to destroy you completely. That's why you've gone through betrayals that should have broken you. That's why you've experienced rejections that left scars on your soul. That's why the people closest to you hurt you the most. Because the devil knows he can't get to you directly, so he tries to get to you through others. He tried to poison your identity through abuse. He tried to plant fear and anxiety in your mind through trauma. He tried to make you think you were worthless, because he knew if you ever found out the truth, if you ever woke up to who you really are, He wouldn't be able to touch you again, but you didn't die. You didn't lose your mind. You didn't give up. And now, the enemy is terrified because he knows his time is up. He knows that all the hell you went through didn't weaken you, it trained you. You became stronger in secret. You learned how to fight when nobody believed in you. You learned how to pray when there was no one left to lean on. You learned how to stand alone, broken but not destroyed, silent but spiritually armed. You see, some people are chosen for comfort, but you were chosen for combat. Your calling is too great to come without resistance. So if your battles have been big, it's because your assignment is even bigger. But here's the truth. The enemy's worst mistake was letting you survive, because now you've seen too much. You've been through too much. You can't be manipulated anymore. You can't be fooled anymore. You've stepped into a place where your authority speaks louder than your wounds. And the moment you stopped asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and started declaring, "This is happening for me," that's when everything shifted in the spirit realm. So don't regret the fight. Don't resent the pain. It was proof of your power. It was the evidence that you carry something hell couldn't stop. And now, everything you lost in the battle, your joy, your peace, your voice, God is returning it all. Multiplied, pressed down, overflowing. You survived the hit. Now get ready for the harvest. You thought you were losing. You thought everything was slipping through your hands, your money, your energy, your time, your dreams, even your peace of mind. But what if I told you? You weren't losing anything at all. You were sowing. Yes, what felt like loss was actually a spiritual investment, because in the kingdom of God, nothing you give with a pure heart is ever truly lost. It is transformed, multiplied, and returned in due time. When you loved people who never loved you back, you were sowing compassion. When you gave when you had little, you were sowing generosity. When you forgave those who didn't deserve it, you were sowing grace. When you stayed faithful through the storm, you were sowing obedience. When you kept going with a broken heart, you were sowing endurance. And now, God is watering every seed. He's been watching you plant them with tears. And now, you're about to reap with joy. See, the world taught you that when you lose something, it's gone forever. But in the spirit realm, every loss in the hands of God becomes a seed for supernatural return. Nothing is wasted. Even your pain has purpose. Even your silence had weight. Even your heartbreak had value. The people who rejected you, they didn't just walk out, they made room for better. The job that fell through, it opened space for something you didn't know you deserved. The relationship that ended, it broke your soul, but it also broke the chains that were holding your destiny hostage. And yes, it hurt. Yes, you wept. But every tear watered the soil of your future. Every act of faith, no matter how small, was recorded by heaven. God saw it all. And now the spiritual bank account is about to release interest you didn't even know was accumulating. You've been waiting. You've been patient. You've held on when most would have quit. And now heaven is declaring it's your time, not just for restoration, but for multiplication. Because when God gives back, He doesn't return what you lost in the same form. He upgrades it. He refines it. He multiplies it. You won't get back the same people. You won't go back to the same place. Because you're not the same person anymore. You're about to step into blessings you didn't even ask for, because of seeds you didn't even know you planted. That moment when you kept going with an empty heart, it counted. That decision to stay faithful when you felt forgotten, it counted. That night you cried and still prayed anyway, it counted. So now, don't be surprised when favor starts chasing you. Don't be shocked when doors open without effort. Because this is not luck, this is harvest season. And everything you lost, it's coming back 100 times stronger, 100 times better, 100 times more aligned with who you truly are. There was a moment when your cup was so full of pain, disappointment, and confusion that it overflowed. It was messy, uncontrollable, and sometimes unbearable. But that overflow was necessary. God knew that before he could pour something new into your life, he had to empty you of the old. Not just the visible things, the toxic relationships, the broken dreams, the failed plans, but the invisible things too: fear, doubt, bitterness, and false identities. You see, your spirit needed space. There was no room for the blessings ahead when your heart was still cluttered with yesterday's pain. God had to make your soul a clean, empty vessel before filling it with new purpose, new joy, and new power. That's why he allowed the pruning, the cutting away of everything that no longer served you, the painful separations that felt like rejection but were really redirection. Many don't understand this process. They see emptiness as failure, but God sees it as preparation. An empty vessel doesn't mean emptiness of purpose. It means readiness for overflow. And you endured that emptiness with grace you didn't know you had. You kept believing in a better tomorrow when all you could see was darkness. You refused to settle for less when your soul was screaming for more. You trusted a promise no one else believed in. That trust was your anchor. It kept you steady through the storms. It kept you alive when everything else was dying. Now that space has been created, now that your soul has room to breathe and expand, God is ready to fill you with things you can't even imagine. Peace that surpasses understanding, joy that is unshakable, love that heals every scar, purpose that ignites your soul like wildfire. You had to be emptied so you could be filled with divine abundance. And the empty cup you once feared is now a vessel for miracles. So don't fear the empty moments anymore. Don't resist the process that feels painful. Because God is working in the invisible places, preparing you for an overflow that will shake the heavens. Your time of emptiness was never a curse. It was the gateway to your greatest blessing. You may not realize it yet, but the return has already begun. The winds of change are stirring around you, subtle at first, almost unnoticeable, but powerful nonetheless. These are the signs that your restoration is not a distant dream. It's a present reality. You feel a renewed strength rising inside you, even on days when you think you can't take another step. You begin to attract people who uplift and encourage you, people who see your value and honor your journey. Opportunities that once seemed impossible now present themselves in unexpected ways. Doors you thought were forever closed begin to creak open, revealing paths you never imagined. Your intuition sharpens. You start recognizing God's voice clearer than ever before. You find peace in situations that used to trigger anxiety and fear. Your past no longer controls your emotions, instead it fuels your determination. Dreams you once buried deep inside you start resurfacing with vivid clarity. Even your enemies seem to hesitate now, as if they sense the shift in your spirit. The spiritual attacks become less frequent or less effective because you're no longer vulnerable in the same way. But the most important sign is this: you no longer seek validation from the world. You are anchored in your identity as a chosen and beloved child of God. This is the moment your life begins to turn. Not because you fought harder, but because God's favor is moving. Not because you got lucky, but because divine timing is perfect. Not because you're stronger alone, but because you've been made strong through Him. So watch for these signs. Celebrate the small victories, the subtle shifts, the moments of peace, because they are proof that what you lost is coming back better than ever. Your restoration is started and the harvest is near. When God says He will return your losses 100 times, He's not speaking in human math. This is a supernatural principle, a divine law of multiplication. In the natural world, you might lose something and get it back the same way or maybe a little better. But in the spirit realm, God operates on a different level. He promises not just restoration, but overflow, abundance, and exponential increase. This law is seen throughout Scripture, when 5 loaves and 2 fish feed thousands, when a widow's oil never runs dry, when seeds sown in faith produce 100-fold harvest. God's economy is not like the world's economy. His investments never fail. You may feel empty now, but God's law guarantees your refill. You may feel broken, but God's law guarantees your wholeness. You may feel lost, but God's law guarantees your purpose. Because God is a God of multiplication. When He restores more than what was taken. When He blesses abundantly. When He heals completely. This isn't wishful thinking, it's a spiritual fact. It's a promise written in the fabric of creation. It's the same power that raised Jesus from the dead working in your life right now. You don't just get your old life back. You get a new life, richer, fuller, more powerful. You get a destiny fulfilled in ways you can't yet comprehend. So when you hear 100x, don't think of it as a number on a paycheck or a count of possessions. Think of it as a divine law governing your life, unchangeable, unstoppable, guaranteed. Your losses were never permanent. Your setbacks were never final. Your story is about to be rewritten with supernatural favor. The only thing left for you to do is to step into your new season boldly, knowing that what's coming is far greater than what you ever imagined. You've been through the fire. You've been through the silence. You've been hidden and attacked, emptied and broken. But now, all of that pain, all of that struggle was never for nothing. It was preparing you for this moment. Your time has come. The season of waiting is over. The days of wondering why me are behind you. Now is the time to walk boldly into your destiny. To step out in faith, knowing that God is behind every step you take. To live with confidence because you carry the power of restoration multiplied 100 times. You are no longer defined by what you lost. You are defined by who you are becoming. A warrior, a leader, a chosen one. So rise up, claim your blessings, receive your harvest, and never forget, what was stolen from you will be returned, and not just once but 100 times over. Because God's promises are true, and your breakthrough is here.